Hi, how to keep my husband happy. My name is Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation, and this is my specialty. For men, how to keep your wife happy. For women, how to keep your husband happy. And I want to let you know that I used to be a divorce mediator before I started saving marriages. So I understand how easy it is to make your husband unhappy. And there's layers to this, but we're going to start with something that's very simple, and that is the reason you got married in the first place was to be happier, wasn't it? Now, some people said, well, I wanted to have children, I wanted to have a companion, I wanted to be with my soulmate, and you are with your soulmate. But always behind that is, I want to be happier. I want a happy life. That's why you get married. And so then the question becomes, how? And the answer is so obvious, it's ridiculous. Now, when I shifted from my practice of divorcing people to helping marriages, with my very first couple, it was kind of accidental, but I won't get into that story right now. But I had to ask myself, why do people get married? And it literally took me weeks to come up with the universal answer of to be happier. And it took me more weeks to come up with what makes people happy universally. What always works to make someone happy? Love. And it was like, duh. If it's that simple, and there's only two of you in the marriage, and I call it the sacred space of marriage because it's sacred. You're a soul. He's a soul. What's more sacred than a soul? It's a part of God. And the nature of the soul is bliss, is joy, happiness without end, ever increasing happiness. So now it starts to get more simple, right? Because what I did, my first step, what I did was I said, okay, what helps bring in happiness? What is an obstacle to happiness? And I use the term obstacle because it's natural for the soul to be happy. So I said, well, why would people mess this up? And I knew why. Because we have bodies. We're residents, we're spirit, we're like angels in human bodies that are animal type bodies. They're designed just like animal bodies. They're specialized, but they have this one feature that causes a lot of trouble. That feature is that innate in every living cell is the drive to survive. And when you put those cells together and they form first like little colonies of plants, and then insects, and then animals, mammals, and our bodies too, they become more complex. They all work in harmony and with this innate intelligence, all driving to survive. Isn't it so? And that's what we're stuck with. We're stuck with this dilemma of we end up serving our body instead of controlling the mind and not allowing this drive to survive to interfere with the love. Okay, what do I mean? What I mean is that the drive to survive gets us to behave in ways that are not loving. Defensiveness, argumentative, confrontation, watching out for our own well-being is the opposite of being loving. And so we're not regulating it on a moment-to-moment basis because they don't teach us this when we're children. I had to learn much later. Introspection, watching your mind on a constant basis and making sure that the drive to survive elements which are impacting your mind and making you do things that are defensive and offensive, you're supposed to block those. As a soul, you still have to take care of the body, but it's not like caveman days, although the instinct is still there. So now it's a more sophisticated, instinctive reaction, but it's still there, and it blocks the love. It's so important for us to keep our husband happy by being the soul who he married. And then your behavior can be myriad. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to be sexier. You don't. Now, you may want to be at times if it's a way of expressing your love, but to be sexy to make him happy is going to fail. You see? Now, you know, everyone talks about and everyone knows that husbands love their wives to cook for them. Well, why is that? You know, I ask all these questions because when I wanted to design ways of helping marriages, I wanted to get into all of this stuff that we know and some things that we don't know and see why certain things worked. Well, everyone knows that men prefer women who cook well. It's just a fact. Call it chauvinist if you want, I don't care. It's the truth. But what is underlying that is what's important. And what's underlying that is that a man has these drives to survive too. Food. So if his wife is making sure that he's eating well, he's going to be fulfilled by that because she's now expressing her love in a very positive way. Sexy too, but believe it or not, food more so. But sex too. Men are more driven to want sex because of their procreative drive, which is tied to the drive to survive. And wives who understand that and take that opportunity of having sex with their husbands and using I love you much more during that act because for a woman, usually that act of sexual connection is a loving act. And men have been trained in our society to make it pornographic, and it's not tied to the heart. And men are more adapt to that because they're not as tied to the heart as you are. But you can convert your husband. That's going to make him very happy. I could go on with this, but you know, I'm starting to cover too many topics. So I think I've given you something to think about. If you're having a problem in your marriage, if that's why you're looking at these videos, then write into our counselors. You know, they will guide you to either one of my books or to the course, but not that they're paid to do so. If you have a simple question, they'll just answer it. They're paid to be there for you. They don't get a commission or a pat on the back if you purchase something from us. It's not what we're about. We're a nonprofit foundation. So anyway, I hope this was useful and helpful. Like it, please. Share it, please. Leave a comment if you have a comment. I'll respond to you. And other than that, blessings to you, blessings to your husband, blessings to your family. God bless you. Take care.